Here's why fans think Arya Stark will return in Jon Snow's spin-off. What if I told you that Jon Snow might not be alone in his long-awaited spin-off? What if I told you that Arya Stark, the fearless, sharp-tongued assassin who sailed into the unknown, could return to stand alongside her brother once more? Fans everywhere are buzzing with the theory that Maisie Williams's Arya Stark will appear in Jon Snow's spin-off, Snow. And today, we're diving into every clue, every reason, and every emotional thread that has led fans to believe that Arya's story isn't finished. Let's start with the obvious. Arya Stark didn't get an ending. She got a beginning. When the curtain fell on Game of Thrones, Jon was exiled to the Wall, Sansa became queen in the north, and Bran took the throne in King's Landing. But Arya, she looked west of Westeros and set sail for lands no one had ever seen. Her story wasn't tied up, it was cracked wide open. That's not closure. That's a setup. And here's where fans started connecting the dots. Arya's fate was intentionally left mysterious. George R.R. Martin himself has always been fascinated by what lies beyond the maps of Westeros. In the books, the phrase, "west of Westeros," is whispered but never explored. So why would the show end Arya's story there unless there was more to tell? And if Jon Snow is returning, could Arya's exploration tie back into his journey? The answer many fans believe is yes. But let's break down why Arya specifically makes sense for Snow. First, Arya and Jon's relationship. Out of all the Stark siblings, Arya was the closest to Jon. Remember that farewell in Season 1, when Jon gave Arya her sword, Needle? He told her to stick them with the pointy end. That bond carried through the entire series. They didn't see each other again for years, but when they reunited at Winterfell in Season 8, it was emotional, powerful, and intimate. Arya trusted Jon when others didn't. Jon respected Arya in a way he didn't respect anyone else. Their bond is unfinished, and a spin-off about Jon would feel incomplete without Arya at least crossing his path again. Second, Arya's skill set. In Game of Thrones, Arya became one of the deadliest characters in the world. She trained with the Faceless Men. She killed the Night King. She's a master of stealth, combat, and survival. In a spin-off set in the harsh unknown beyond the Wall, Arya's abilities would be invaluable. Imagine her reuniting with Jon, not just as his sister, but as a fellow warrior. Two Stark wolves, side by side, facing whatever dangers the frozen north, or the western seas, throw at them. Fans want to see that. HBO knows fans want to see that. Third, Maisie Williams herself has fueled speculation. In interviews, she's said she misses Arya and would consider returning if the story felt right. She's also spoken about how Arya's ending was more of a launch than a conclusion. Combine that with Kit Harington personally fighting for Snow, and you have the perfect recipe. Two of the show's biggest stars, two of the fandom's favorite characters, sharing the screen again. But let's talk story possibilities. How exactly could Arya return in Snow? Fans have several theories. One of the most popular is that Arya's voyage west leads her into lands filled with ancient magic, magic that connects directly to the north. Perhaps she discovers forces that survived the fall of the Night King, or even civilizations that remember the first men and the old gods. And when trouble brews, who does she seek out? Jon Snow, the man who already walked through death and fire. Another theory is more personal. Arya's story has always been about identity. She shed her name, became no one, and then reclaimed her Stark bloodline. But sailing into the unknown means confronting who she truly is and what she truly wants. And the one person who has always understood her soul is Jon. Meeting him again in Snow could give her the closure she never got, because Arya, like Jon, didn't really get an ending. She got a question mark. And what about the emotional impact? Fans never got enough Jon and Arya. Their moments were brief but powerful. The thought of Jon, broken by exile and guilt, seeing Arya again. It's enough to give chills. Imagine Arya stepping off a ship in the frozen north, Needle at her side, smirking at Jon with that same mischievous grin she had as a child. That reunion alone would break the internet. Now, let's look at the bigger picture, HBO's strategy. After the divisive Game of Thrones finale, HBO knows it needs fan service moments done right. House of the Dragon proved that returning to the lore can work. But to truly recapture the magic, they need the faces fans fell in love with. Jon Snow is one. Arya Stark is another. Bringing her back isn't just good storytelling, it's smart business. And here's a subtle clue. George R.R. Martin confirmed that Kit Harington pitched Snow himself, even gathering writers to develop it. If Kit is steering the story, who would he want involved? Kit has spoken warmly about Maisie Williams and their on-screen chemistry. Their bond off-screen mirrors Jon and Arya's bond on-screen. It wouldn't be surprising at all if Kit himself suggested Arya's return. Of course, some fans argue against it. They say Arya's journey should remain mysterious, that showing what lies west of Westeros could ruin the intrigue. They believe Arya is best left in legend. But here's the counter-argument. Game of Thrones was never about leaving questions unanswered. It was about showing the cost of choices. Arya's choice to sail west wasn't closure, it was a gamble. And fans deserve to see whether that gamble paid off. Now, imagine the synergy of storytelling. Jon Snow wandering beyond the wall, Arya sailing beyond the seas, both characters stepping into uncharted territory. Their arcs mirror each other. Outsiders venturing into the unknown, carrying the scars of the past. Bringing them together isn't just fan service. It's poetic. It ties the Stark children's stories into something greater. Let's take it even deeper. Arya killed the Night King. Jon killed Daenerys. Both committed acts that defined history. Both are haunted by those choices. Both were misunderstood by those around them. Seeing them together again isn't just about family, it's about survival. It's about two killers, two survivors, trying to find meaning in a world that has left them behind. And that's powerful, but let's not forget the emotional stakes. Arya left Winterfell to chase freedom. Jon was sent north in chains. What happens when freedom collides with exile? Does Arya try to pull Jon into her adventure? Does Jon try to anchor Arya back to her family? That tension could fuel an entire season. And fans are already hungry for it. Online forums are filled with speculation. Fan art of Arya and Jon exploring frozen ruins together has gone viral. Cosplayers are pairing them up in new adventures. The fandom is already writing this story. It's only natural for HBO to bring it to life. Now, let's not ignore the possibility that Arya's return could bring danger. Arya's faceless men training, her reputation as the slayer of the Night King, these things carry weight. If Arya sails back into Jon's world, she brings enemies with her. Old grudges from Essos, ancient powers from the west, maybe even faceless men who believe Arya broke their sacred vows. Imagine Jon and Arya fighting side by side against assassins from across the sea. That's the kind of spectacle fans dream about. But beyond spectacle, there's heart. The Stark children endured horrors that would break anyone else. Sansa found power. Bran found destiny. Jon found exile. Arya found freedom. But freedom can be lonely. And exile can be unbearable. Together, Arya and Jon could find balance, if only briefly. That emotional payoff is why fans think her return isn't just possible, but inevitable. And let's not forget Maisie Williams herself. In 2022, she said Arya's ending was bittersweet, but that she always wondered what came next. She also joked that Arya probably died at sea because she didn't know how